Good morning.
Morning. I hope the time's not too early for you.
No, it's all good. I do like my sleep a little bit more on a Tuesday though, because we teach late on a Monday night, so my voice might be a little sexy this morning for you. How are you? Good?
I'm really good, yeah. I don't have as late a night on Mondays. I do like my own training and rehearsing on Monday, and then I
Yeah,
try and be in before midnight.
yeah, yeah. But no, it's good. I'm feeling good this morning. I'm ready for a
Yeah.
big day today again. So, yeah.
Are you teaching
Tonight,
tonight?
yes. So I'm teaching Monday to Thursday at the moment, which is a lot, but it's really really good. Loving what we're doing at the moment. It's like so nice to be back after a little break. We had like 4 weeks off over Christmas, and
Yeah.
now we're back to it, and great energy in the studio, and I'm feeling more fit slowly after taking a break.
I feel like the vibe in Melbourne's growing. Like I haven't been back to Melbourne for probably a year. I think the last interstate party that I went to was your party actually before I flew
Yeah,
out the next day, like a 1 day
that's
stopover
right.
in Melbourne. Yeah,
It was just
and
before
the
you went
vibe,
to Europe, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The vibe was amazing. Like at your
Yeah,
party.
look, it's got a great scene down here. Um, and we have the monthly parties by Latino, and
Yep.
it's just, I think because in our studio too, it's a quite a small space. So it's quite a cozy atmosphere, and everyone's super friendly. But it's like that generally across Melbourne, and it is growing now. Like Carlos and I have By Latino, and now Richie and Alme have set up here too, which is great. So they run their monthly VLS parties. There's always something on. We're still fighting the
Nice.
bachatero, but salsa we're trying to bring out stronger during the week. But yeah, no, it's really good. It's a good atmosphere. When are you coming back?
I think it'll be for your event. That'll be my
Yeah,
first weekend in Melbourne. So yeah,
awesome.
once a year. Yeah, is what I'm
Yeah,
averaging.
yeah,
How long
that's
have you
okay.
been? How long have you been in Melbourne the whole time? Have you always been teaching and dancing there?
Yes, yeah, I'm born and bred in Victoria and always danced here. Um, yeah, so it's been really nice to sort of see, and I use that now. I really appreciate, how much the scene has grown and changed and evolved, like everywhere, I'm sure. But yeah, it's nice to have come through as a baby and sort of to where I am now. It's really exciting. Yeah.
So what have you observed change wise since you started compared to now? How is it different?
I guess the biggest thing for me is the style, how much the style of salsa has changed or evolved or adapted to different influences, I guess. So I
Mm.
see videos of myself and those that are still dancing alongside me now, and the way we used to dance, not just in terms of technique, but, the actual style of something, in terms probably more so, ladies' arm styling specifically. Um, yeah. What else? I think it's always had that. We've always had a great social community, so I think I've just seen a real shift in the schools and the educators in the area as well. It's sort of people have come and gone, and it's been really nice to see a lot of the newer sort of generational dancers coming through, and that really excites me too. Um,
Mm.
and part of what I like to do is really spotlight or showcase those newer people that are coming through, or new talent, I guess, trying to discover and
Yeah,
support those guys, I guess. Yeah,
I
where I
think that's
can.
something. Well, like when I came back from Europe the second time, like I've been to Europe once in 2017, and then I went and did like a year of training and like traveling, and then
Yeah,
you were the first people that contacted me and said, "Hey, like you had such a great time overseas. Like I can see how much you've grown. How amazing is that you're back
yeah,
now? Would you like to come to workshops in Melbourne?" I was like, "Yeah, amazing,
yeah,
perfect." That's
yeah.
great.
Well,
Do
I
you feel
think
like
we
this?
are. Sorry.
No, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, you know, we are on a big island so far away. And I think that's one of the struggles personally as a professional dancer. It's for us is very expensive for us to get over there or what have you. So we really rely upon those that do go, or when we do have the opportunity to go and travel. Like I'm so proud of the scene that we have here, and I think we have incredible dancers here. But for me, it's so important to keep working and seeing that other influences in Europe and North Americas or Latin America, and just bringing that back. So that's why I'm always so excited if someone's been away. It's like, tell me everything you know. What did you learn? Yeah, we're hungry here. What were you going to say? Sorry, I cut you off.
I was going to say, do you feel like when you started in the scene, do you feel like there was more of a lean towards competition dancing as opposed to social dancing?
100%. I mean, personally, that's been my journey anyway, because I grew up as a ballet dancer doing competition. So from day one, I was sort of in the comp mind, I guess. But yes, there used to be a lot more. I don't know if you remember, or we've done it together a lot. So, you know, there was definitely more that we had, like Victorian state championships, and then you'd qualify here, and then you'd go to Sydney, I think it was.
Yeah.
There was definitely a lot more competitions around, whereas now we've sort of come back to just the single comp here in 1 year. I would really like to see at least one more competition in a year, just because personally I think it's a really great way for people to have a target to work towards, improve their dancing. And personally, I saw a lot of growth in my own dancing from doing comp, and I see it in my students that do it as well. Having said that, I'm a huge advocate for social dancing because, you know, we both love it. And it's really nice to see that shift. I just wish we could bring more salsa socials out in Melbourne. Like, we're trying, but it's just trying to get the support behind it in Melbourne. Whereas I hear in Sydney, and I think some of the bigger events in Brisbane, there's a big pool of socials happening. So I would like to see that more in Melbourne, especially during the week, you know.
Do you
need you to come down?
I'm happy to come down, anytime. I like the vibe in Melbourne. When I came in the past, you guys have Nightcat there?
I was just there on Sunday night. Every Sunday night we have Nightcat live music. So on Sunday we had Tumbal Social were playing, and beautiful vibes. And we're very lucky to have that in Melbourne. And that's a great event. That's every Sunday night. There's always great live music, and I guess that's a real treat that we have here. But again, I'm not sure. I wish we could have more of that, you know. It's like we have such amazing musicians here. Sorry?
How long has it been running for? Nightcat.
Forever that I don't actually know when they opened, but it's been around since I think I actually accidentally went there with friends one night before I started salsa, and I remember watching everyone social dancing there and being like, wow, because I didn't understand the concept of, and Alex will laugh at me about this, the concept of lead and follow. He still teases me. Coming from a ballet background and choreography and competition, I was always like, oh, everything is set and choreographed, and you have a way of doing it. Even, you know, exam work, everything's like a syllabus and structure. And coming to salsa, it took me a long time to get my head around that. Maybe I still struggle with that sometimes. So yeah, that's where I first saw social dancing, was at Nightcap.
I feel like the Melbourne scene's quite diverse. I feel like there's a lot of dancers there, but there's also like there's like big schools like your school or the Salsa Foundation, but then like lots of little schools like deposited around like the area. So there's like a really big community, but it's kind of like you couldn't possibly know everyone because it's like so spread out.
Yeah, look, we are trying to work on that, and it's really nice. I have a good relationship with, you know, majority of the schools and the educators in Melbourne. And I think that's super important that we keep doing that and keep working together to try and keep building that. And you're right. And I think that's really beautiful. The fact that we have so many different teachers and schools here, because everyone offers something a little bit different or has a little different style. You know, someone like Minx has her school embassy over in Docklands now, and you know, her background and her upbringing in dance is so different to mine. So I know she would offer something very different to what, say, Carlos and I would teach. And I kind of, I guess in the past have been sort of made believe, you know, you stick with this one thing. And I'm not an advocate for doing too many things at once, because I think sometimes you can get distracted. But I'm also really cool if our students want to go and take class with other students and teachers. I think, yeah, great. That's cool. Like, go and do it. I think it's silly not to. You know.
I feel like if you are in the scene and you are or teaching a particular style, if you limit your students to only that one style, it does them a disservice and it does the scene a disservice.
Yes.
But one thing that I like about your parties is when I go to your parties, all the teachers from Melbourne are there. Like all the salsa teachers that still social dance are like at your parties. That's great. That's amazing.
Yeah, look, all of us try to support each other's events. Like I can't remember who was there that night, but I mean, we still love, you know, enjoy going out social dancing. And if I had a choice, I'd go to a congress every weekend. But here we have like 4, so that's why I started an event, so I could have a congress to dance at. No, not really.
That's
but
viable.
You know, I see, you know, Europe, and I know it's a little pocket of countries, and every weekend or every week there's like 4 different things to choose from, and I can see why you never want to be here anymore.
I do be here, but only for like half the year.
Short pockets. That's a lie. 2 months would be enough for you here.
Yeah, it's kind of true. But the reason because of my students. So I love my students in Brisbane and like the one on the Gold Coast, and I feel like in a way I'm obligated to come back and share what I'm learning, because it's like you said earlier, it's hard for people to go overseas and upskill and train. So like some of my students have kids, or they have mortgages, or they have families, or their situations don't allow them to travel like for a year or 6 months like I do. So there's like a responsibility that I put on myself to come back and share that. But then when I'm back for too long, I'm like, oh, like I want to go again. Like I miss the social there. So yeah, I'm trying to find a balance still.
I think it's nice that you say responsibility, and we feel the same thing, because as educators, or I guess creative people, like we got to the end of last year and you just feel really, I don't know if you feel the same. We feel, well, maybe not having traveled, but we feel really drained, because we are really, really trying to give as much as we can to our students. And it's hard to keep putting out. Whether that's just in class for, you know, Shine's class or something like that, or if it's for choreographies. So we've really made an effort this year to set aside time for ourselves to travel and to take classes with other professionals, or, you know, whether it's online or, you know, actually going to see someone. Because I hate feeling like that when you're like empty in the tank. You know, you need that something back. So yeah, I'm excited about that this year.
The part of the issue, I think, is that we all catch up with each other at competitions, which is at the end of the year. So it's like, oh yes, like you get to catch up with all your colleagues and all your friends, but then you can't really enjoy it as much as you want to, because you're competing every day, or your students are competing, or you're teaching.
Yeah.
So you can't. Not like a weekend off. It's like a working weekend, but that's when everyone. So it's hard to balance that. Yeah,
it's so funny, like when you think about what we do, and like, when did we meet each other? How long have we known each other? I feel like I've known you forever. Well, you call me Liz. You're one of the few people that call me Liz, which is my family call me that, and my long-time dance friends call me that. Whereas everyone else calls me Ellie now, or Elysia. So
Yeah, right.
we mustn't know each other. Maybe we could admit that. Maybe we could keep it quiet.
10 years ago was when we first met. Maybe
yeah.
I would have been competing for the first time as an amateur at the World Salsa Solo in Brisbane. The year they had it outside in the heat.
Yeah.
I think
that was funny. That was a funny comp. I remember that.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but I was just thinking it's such a strange situation where you have known these people for so many years, like more than that, some people, and really we've only seen each other like 6 to 8 times in our lifetimes. Well, maybe more than that, depending on how many congresses.
You and I probably a little bit more because we caught up in Europe when you came to Italy when I was living there.
That's right.
And you were
I
classes in Latin soul dances, so we caught up with each other there. Then there's like every year at the Congress, we're doing the congresses. But I was going to ask if you're taking time for yourself to recharge and like get inspiration back and dance with other people, are you going to do that in Australia as well as overseas, or just overseas?
Both, I think. We have we're trying to lock in some trips at the moment. Well, first of all, the artists that are coming in March for Rumbia are some of the best in the world right now, and I'm really excited to get a chance to work with them. I think that's number one that's going to be coming up. On top of that, we just have so much amazing talent here. So Yassim in Brisbane, you guys up there are so lucky to have someone like that. So we would love to go up and spend some time working with him. And then I'm not sure if I'll get in trouble for saying that, but we're going to go to New York in the middle of the year.
Sweet.
So plan to go and train with all the different schools over there. There's so many of them there. So many of the teachers, whether it's Carol or if Adolfo's there, hopefully Tanya might be in town at the same time, would be great. Of course, all the guys at Yamole, Frankie Martinez, so many different people. I think Franklin, of course. Just, I don't know, I'm going to be like a kid in a lolly shop over there. So that's one big plan, and then some other looser stuff we haven't sort of locked in yet, but I'd love to go back to Europe too.
It's so energizing to be a student again, to learn something, your own thing, and like I love it. I really enjoy it, going to a different school or with different instructors, or taking a workshop with people that you're not familiar with, and then being like, they do their basic step, or that's an interesting technique they're using to do this. So I really enjoy it, and if I like it, I've got like a problem. I'm like, I have to get good at that now. So I don't like to be average at something that I like. So I have to practice it a lot. But I don't know. Maybe that's my issue.
I love that you say that about whether it's basics, because I'm like a nerd like that around technique, basic stuff too. It's like, why is she or they crossing their foot there on count 8 or 1, or I was looking at someone on Instagram the other day obsessing over how they were doing a cross body right turn and the way that she prepped her footwork. I was like, why do they do that? Interesting. I get really intrigued with that kind of detail as well now. So I'm just excited from a student perspective, but I also go as a dance school owner, and seeing just in terms of the way that they have their timetable set up, systems that they use, class time, everything. I'm sort of going with different sort of hats on, I guess. So,
I appreciate that, because same thing as a teacher. So I'll go somewhere to learn content and learn concepts and learn techniques, but then I also go because I want to see how they teach, how do they deliver what they're doing, engage with students, present them. So all those things I find really interesting from a teaching perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the beautiful thing about New York too is it's not just going to be salsa. It's like we're going to go and see Broadway shows and just see stuff, be inspired, everything that's there, So I'm excited. I haven't been for a long time, so I'm looking forward. I think the last time I was there was 2014 when I was there when I went to Miami. So I'm excited to go back.
It's so overwhelmingly big, New York, for me. Like shell shocking. Like I grew up in country Australia, so like for me to see like huge skyrise buildings and like their subway system and their traffic and the people there, like it's so much to take in. Like,
yeah, me too. I'm a country kid too. Like I grew up on a B line. Anyone knows what that is? Country trains. So yeah, it's eye opening. So I'm really excited about that.
From a social dancing perspective, where have you enjoyed it the most in the world?
Ooh, look, I mean, I haven't had the luxury of traveling as much as you have. I honestly, like, I'm really proud of the scene here, and I think probably, honestly, some of the best social dancers. Some of the best dancers I've had have been here. I think the reason I say that is last time I was in America, I was a newer dancer and I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. So for example, when I went out social dancing, I was probably like eye-opened and scared, terrified. And in Europe, probably the same thing. So I guess from that perspective, it's more because I haven't had that luxury as yet, as much in terms of where I am now as a dancer. So I guess for me, it's always when I go to any congress here. So specifically, Sydney Mambo Convention last year, it was amazing. Yep. It was so good. I think that event, because it was the first bigger one back that we'd had since COVID. And just to see that whole floor again, full with people dancing and enjoying themselves and back to doing what we love, that was really special. And
two events that like, have that same vibe. I remember the first time I went to Sydney Latin Festival in their huge arena, and I was like mind blown. I was like, wow, huge is going on. And then I think the same year or the year after, I went to Palladium, and like that's the first time I saw Thomas Guerrero or Eddie Torres Jr. and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And like I said something to Thomas during class, and he's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Jai." And he's like, "Come up on stage with me." I was like, "Oh!" Like, he does that for a lot of the people in the workshop, and it was so amazing. And then he had a bunch of us.
That venue is very special. That was out at Olympic Park, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the one.
I think that was my first ever congress, actually, back in, I'm not going to tell you what year. Jamie will laugh at me. And yeah, I remember being the same when I walked in, and, I got my wristband upstairs and just being like a little kid, like, whoa. And it was at that event, I'm pretty sure, that because I had been dancing salsa probably less than 6 months, maybe like 3 months. And someone was like, "Let's go to Sydney Congress." I was like, yeah. And someone said to me on the social floor, "On one or on two?" And I was like, I don't mind. And I'm like, what does that mean? I didn't know what that meant. So I tell all my students that now, trying to make them feel better about themselves. It's like, I went to Congress and had no idea what I was doing and no idea what on one or on two meant back then. So yeah, it was, that was a pretty special venue. And I admire those guys for running such a big event for so many years now, and having such amazing artists come through. Yeah.
The artists coming this year are going to be really good as well. They're bringing Elysia from Germany, who's the musician from Freiburg.
Yes.
His musicality workshops are really good. I took classes with him when I was in Germany, and I did rumba and musicality with him, and it's really good. He knows his stuff. I think Palladium this year, Sydney Salsa Mambo Convention is the new name. It'll be really good. I think.
Yeah, they.
Do you know who?
Sorry.
I was going to say, I don't remember who else is going. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know Anichi.
Karen and Ricardo are the main headliners this year. Yes, yeah. They're coming back, so it'll be really great to see them. I feel like there's someone else, I just can't remember. Sorry, guys. But yes, I was super excited. How do you pronounce his name? Anichi? Anichi.
Yeah, Anichi.
Yeah, I've only seen his videos online, and I send them to a lot of our students because what he's doing is fantastic. And I really, really value that. We have a musicality class that we do every week at Elysia, and I just think that's such an important part of the social dancing concept in terms of you really need to understand that stuff or have your head around it. You know, whether it's to do with musicality or connection, you know, this is something we teach a lot as well.
It's interesting. When you started salsa, was that part of the conversation? Musicality and connection and those sort of concepts?
No.
Not at all.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Excuse me. As a younger dancer, sorry, I'm just gonna get some water. I mean, I'm sure it was, and I think for me, maybe it's something that I've had inbuilt. I don't like to say that, since I was a kid. So from ballet, I guess it's a different genre of music, of course, like coming from, but classical ballet, I used to be obsessed with ballet. So I'd dance every day and I'd listen to that music every day. And I think in a sense that's given me some sort of, well, not grounding, but understanding of concept of musicality and melody and that kind of side of things, which has made it easier in a sense for me to apply to salsa. But some people that haven't come from that training, maybe it's harder for them. But I don't remember specifically having classes on that or having a curiosity about that until more recently, I guess.
Yeah, I think maybe 5 years did it start to become popular, or not popular. People are realizing that they're lacking something in their dancing, and then what they realize they're lacking is how to interpret music, or how to be and how to connect differently. And I think part of the reason for it is because from a connection perspective is now that the sensual styles and there's a lot of crossover between styles, between zouk and salsa and sensual and tango and kizomba. And so now there's people with multidisciplinary like backgrounds can say, oh, like I like dancing with him because his salsa feels like zouk, or their zouk feels like salsa, yeah, or they're like their salsa is so soft and gentle, like maybe they've got like a background in something else. So I think because I feel like it used to be very like salsa for so long, and it was all about salsa, and bachata was like it was like salsa combos to bachata music, and then like you know what I mean, and then like sensual bachata really took off maybe like 8 years ago or something like that, like and then it opened up a whole new avenue of doing things, and then zouk and bachata sensual have a lot of similarities. I think they argue about where things come from. I don't really know. I don't get involved in it too much, but I really like zouk. And then tapping into other styles is there's a positive crossover with the other dances that we do, because you can take information from the other styles and apply it to your salsa.
100%. And I think, well, coming back to sort of the musicality element of it as well, and connection it's so important. And that's one of the big things I'm seeing shift in Melbourne too, is we've got some really, I'm so sorry, really exciting new DJs coming through here too, which are bringing out some incredible music. That's just, I think that's the thing that's changed for me too, is a newfound passion for music. And I think that's due to having some new people around me that are DJing. So one of my friends, DJ Pub, DJ Jaime, for example, and of course Juan Carlos in Adelaide. These guys are just, they live and breathe music, and it's their daily job to unearth some goals, you know. And I think that's a real luxury, and maybe that's what's changed too in the scene a little bit, coming back to what we were talking about earlier, is I hear music that I used to dance to all the time, and I just felt like it was always kind of the same salsa music that got churned up, you know. And of course we still replay tracks here, but there's something different in the music, I think, that's coming out in some of the newer DJs on the scene, which is really exciting.
I think the DJ you just mentioned, who was at the solo last year in December, he made my weekend. Like, he DJ'd one night, and I feel like I'm back in Europe. This is amazing. Like, and I went up and I introduced, bro, thank you so much. Like, this has been my, and then he played again the next night, and I was like, yes, yeah. Like,
no, he's doing super well. He's doing super well, yeah. And it's exciting. And I think that then, yeah, and coming back to what you're talking about, connection, is the people that I remember the most. You know, you were talking about favorite social dancers before, or your favorite dancers, and it's those people that make me laugh or smile or feel something. And you're one of those people because you're really cheeky when you dance, and everyone, I'm sure, tested the same thing. You're super cheeky. And what I like about you is you actually look at your partner and you look like you are actually dancing with me as opposed to just doing patterns. And the other thing that you do so well is you have a lot of, and I'll call them cheeky as well, cheeky turn patterns where you keep the girl guessing. You know, you do an arm here, but then you'll want your hand here. And you make me laugh a lot. And that's you know, I'd say that to my students. Yeah, exactly. This one. I'm like, you get me every time. I'm like, but that's what I say to my students all the time. I try to teach them is, you know, it's a really a reflection of who you're dancing with. You're a mirror to your partner. Yeah. And if your partner is doing some boring pattern and not looking at you and just trying to do cool moves, I feel like that's 2005, you know, to whatever. Now it's so much for me, especially like, I can dance with anyone, but I want to dance with those people that I really feel something. And I'm like, that's what dance is about at the end of the day, right? It's like feeling something, enjoying that connection with your partner. So
it's most nicer I love going somewhere to teach and to perform and to work as an artist. But when I came down to visit you guys in my stopover before I flew, it was so nice to just go somewhere and social dance. Like, I didn't have to think about teaching a class, get ready for a performance. It was just catching up with friends and social dancing. That's such a vibe. Like, to go and not have any responsibility from a work perspective. Like, there's a different energy with it.
100%. I know we need more of that, don't we, in our life? Instead of being like, I have to go and do this or do that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was the same for you when you came to Queensland the year before last, and we went out on the Gold Coast, and then you taught a class with me in Brisbane. So, like, when you're on holiday in your own country and there isn't that much work, it's energizing.
Exactly. I forgot about that mini break. That was fun. That was good.
That was like 100%. Like, I still teach one of the shines that you taught in the class we did together. Like, maybe Elysia's got like a step that we haven't seen before or something like that, and then you gave one step, and I was like, I love it. Like, and that's been part of my course ever since you came.
Yeah, that's nice. So that's the thing. We all like need to share and take influence from each other, I think. And I think you find yourself accidentally doing it too. It's like you don't plan to do it and suddenly you're like, where did that come from? It's obviously something I've seen from someone else on YouTube or Instagram, or when I've taken class with someone, you suddenly got that in your repertoire, which is nice. So, yeah.
Since dancing with Carlos, has your dancing's changed, or like because he's classically trained as well?
Yeah, Carlos comes from a lot of different training. So he grew up doing Argentine folkloric to start. He also has done everything like tango, ballet, contemporary, jazz. So I hit the jackpot with him because he does everything, which is also really annoying sometimes. I think definitely, because my dancing, I feel proud of my own journey and what I did and achieved with previous partners like Sharon and Pedro, just different stories, but you know, I really felt proud of those chapters that I had. And then like with every partner that you work with, it's something different. And with Carlos, I felt, especially for me personally, it was I never really had a lot of body movement, I guess, or as much control of my body as I would like. And I think working next to him He is so strong like that. He doesn't have a spine, and he just has so much fluidity in his movement. I really had to step up to that. And I remember myself when I had to go on stage with him at Sydney Mambo Convention in 2018, because I was like, oh my God, I'm dead next to this beast. So it pushed me in that way. And he'll be like, oh no, you didn't teach me anything. But I think he takes things from me as well. Or I'll tell him to point his feet or do something ballet technical, be like, fix this, fix that. But in terms of, I think we've really pushed each other, which is exciting. I'm excited to see what happens this year too, with the ability to travel and stuff. So,
are you guys going to travel together?
That's the plan. We're going to go to New York and train over there, and do some stuff. So, it's exciting to see what might come of that, having some outside influence. Yeah.
Really nice. I think you guys look really good together on stage. Like when you guys perform together, and like your choreographies that you're putting together for your student teams back in Melbourne when they perform or compete, like they look.
Yeah, we're proud of our style, I guess, because we have the technique element to it and the training from the ballet and tango. So we pride ourselves on really creating students that have good dance technique, I guess. Well, we really work towards them having that, which is a hard thing to develop when you're coming in as an adult. Like, we have the luxury, both of us, of doing it from a young age, and it is really hard to teach that and adopt that as an adult dancer. And sometimes I have to step back and realize that a step that comes so naturally to me, or something that comes so naturally to me, is actually fiercely difficult for your everyday person. But on top of that, I think that was the place I came from, whereas Carlos has really brought the flavor with him. And I think together, now that I'm understanding that a lot more, we really push, that element. We're really proud of having the X factor in our teams. And I think that's where we actually scored the highest in any of our competition work, is in that X factor kind of flavor area, I guess you want to say. And it's the technique side that we're still trying to push our dancers with. So I think it's nice to see the balance of that, because you go to a congress, for example, and you see 23 shows in a Friday night. And so it's like, how do we make another salsa show exciting for an audience? You're nodding your head, you know what I mean? Sitting through that many shows, it's tiring as an audience member.
It's tiring as and it's tiring as someone who has to perform, because you have to wait for 23 routines before you can go on stage.
It never gets any easier. How many years you've been doing it? You're like still nervous, waiting to go on. I'm like, I hate this. Why do I do this? And then after, it's fantastic. You're so excited that you did it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I feel like competition dancing for Latin, like in our styles, will always be a thing. Like I don't see it ever finishing. The competitions around the world are growing. The events are getting bigger. There's new events coming up. It's becoming more international now, so more people are traveling to compete at different events around the world. But there's been something that's happened maybe in the last 2 years in Australia, and that's like the rise of Jack and Jill competitions. Yeah, I feel like that's trending again now. Like, because obviously we've had it for a long time, but the last maybe couple of years, it's sort of taken off again. Do you feel like that's because of like the events running them, or is it someone in particular, or what's driving it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Look, potentially it's because the focus is switching. I mean, it's balanced. I wouldn't say it's switching back to social dancing, but I've noticed that more here is we see the importance of it. And I think we need to make sure that doesn't get lost in the competition side, because otherwise we're creating dancers that for stage and they don't have any clue about leading or following, So we just see it. I mean, personally, we've run our own Jack and Jill within our studio as well, just for our students, because we see it as a great kind of, I don't know, it's a way of them practicing things like connection, musicality, timing, constantly swapping partners, you know, like it's dancing with someone new every few minutes. There's so many elements to it. And then also I say the X factor carefully, because sometimes, we talked about this last year, it's like sometimes that X factor starts taking over from the fact that it's meant to be a dance at the end of the day, and then everyone's down doing like all crazy stuff, and and it gets out of hand and crazy. And so I think for me, or maybe it's the influence of always, you know, the Zouk world or the West Coast swing kind of element. Maybe it's, you know, an influence that's always happening in those worlds too. We just really enjoy it, and we see how much our students enjoy it, and that's part of the reason we've included it at Rumbia too. Is it's a really fun thing to do. I guess it's like a competition, but for your social dancing, isn't it, in a sense? So I'm not really sure why.
I know they do this at Summit. They have like the 3-style champion, and you have to be good at salsa, bachata, and cha-cha-cha to be that cool champion. Yeah, like I would love to see that in Australia, but I feel like with the rise of different styles, we've got people that stay in one camp and just live there. So people, you know what I mean? There's Zouk dancers stay in the room, the bachata dancers stay in the bachata room, the salsa dancers stay in the salsa room. Like, so then if you were to find someone that can do all 3 convincingly well, like that's probably a very rare thing now. Whereas, I don't know, in the past,
I would be keen to run that, and I reckon we'd have plenty. Except we have 0 cha-cha dancers, except you and I. No, I still am such a big advocate for cha-cha-cha. I love it. And I think there's not enough people teaching real cha-cha. You know, I think people get confused that cha-cha is just this style that's like 1, 2, 3, cha-cha-cha, 6, 7, cha-cha-cha, 2, 3, cha-cha-cha. Or they're doing that thing where they just do their salsa moves on that count, you know, and that's it. And that's why cha-cha gets this boring kind of reputation, I think, because I think there's not enough passionate people teaching it. So we have our work cut out, Jai.
Yeah, I agree. Like whenever I run a cha-cha course, like in Brisbane, it seems to do quite well. Like people like it if it's engaging, but I love cha-cha. There's so much creativity associated with it, and I really enjoy the music. Like, I think the reason why it doesn't have the popularity that other styles have is because it's harder. It's a harder style to dance. So people are like, yeah, 100%. So people will naturally flow with what's easier, and I think that initially that's the reason why bachata is becoming popular, is because it's much simpler to dance bachata than it is to dance salsa or cha-cha or zouk.
Yeah.
And then until it's not go a little bit deeper into the styles where it becomes more complicated with the body movement and the isolations that's associated with those styles. But initially, bachata is way easier to learn. Like 3 steps. Basic step in cha-cha is 10 steps. Just the basic.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, something definitely I would love to keep on my radar. I think that's a really great concept to bring to Australia, because that then feeds the schools to be teaching that content too, you know, ask requests out of the schools. So yeah, I think that's a really great thing. I think Jack and Jill is fantastic. I would rather see that, you know, at congresses rather than sort of another performance-based competition. And that's the reason with Rumbia we've done that this year. Yeah.
Yeah, because Jack and Jill went really well for you guys last year, hey?
Yeah, look, it was really well supported in the novice sections, or the intermediate. I'm not sure what it's called, the level. Sorry. It went really, really well. So I would like we're really going to try and get through to doing the pro Jack and Jill this year too, because I think that's a really lovely thing for the students to see too. And I think you and I have had a fantastic experience with Jack and Jill. Do you remember?
We did cha-cha, right?
We did cha-cha, and it was with Pedro and Madeline. Do you remember? Yeah. And it was in Gold Coast.
It was,
It was a bit cheeky though that they made us swap. So you ended up dancing with Pedro, and I was leading Madeline.
Initially, I think because you and Pedro were dancing together at the time, and I wasn't dancing with Madeline, so they wanted to make it even. Dance with you and
yeah.
And then I'll just dance. I don't care. I don't follow that. So Pedro.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
That was super. But it's just it's joyful, you know, and it's joyful to watch. And some of my favorite, I know it's different, but I love seeing, you know, whether it's West Coast Swing or the Zouk, Jack and Jill's. I really love watching them more so on YouTube or when they do that. So it's so cool to watch. And what's exciting is when you see especially in the professional sort of level, two dancers that you know that don't normally working together. And I think that's really, really exciting to watch. It's like, oh, how is Jai going to dance with someone like, you know, I can't think of someone now right off the top of my head, but, you know, like Almendra, for example. How are those two going to look together? How are they going to work together?
It would probably be interesting. But it happened maybe the same year or the year after, because we did Jack and Jill but professional at ADC, and I got bachata, but I got it with Ange. And I used to dance with Ange like a long time ago, but she'd been in Melbourne for a long time, and I don't really dance bachata anymore, like at all. And then I got bachata with her, like we won, and I was like, there's like proper bachata artists here. Like I'm not a bachata artist, I'm a salsa artist. Okay, but I agree with you. I think it's really nice for the scene to see what professionals can do when they're maybe under a little bit of pressure, but they're also dancing with people in the same level.
Yeah.
And
that's
what
good.
I like to see, and I still talk about it, is Mario versus Oliver in Shines.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's so funny, because Mario's such a diva, and he's so good at what he does. And they both come out together, it's anything competition, so Oliver's a little bit serious because he's very competitive, and Mario's a little bit more casual, and they tease each other, like Mario's doing son.
Yeah.
And then Oliver jumped to do a jump split, and Mario's like, point your feet. No, Oliver, no, you're doing it wrong. Point your feet. It's on YouTube. If anyone wants to watch it. Oliver Pineda versus stuff.
I remember watching that live as well. It was really, really good. And there was a similar comp here with I can't remember. I was Mariano, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name, from Colombia in Brisbane, and Carlos and Charlie Garcia. They had a battle in Brisbane, and that was fun to watch too. Artie. Oh, it was Artie. Sorry, Carlos is just reminding me it was Artie. So it was really good. I don't know if there's a video of that somewhere. I have to have a look, but that was pretty funny.
Do you guys have plans to? Do you guys have plans to do like that at Rumbia?
Yes. So on Saturday and Sunday we have the Jack and Jill for the students during the day. So I can't remember which way it is. There's the salsa on one day and bachata on the other day. And then on the Sunday night we'll have the pro Jack and Jill battles. Well, not really a battle. Sorry, it's pro Jack and Jill. Yeah. So. Okay.
Is it like proper? Will it be like entertainment Jack and Jill?
No, I think proper. I'm sure there'll be some entertainment, but we say entertainment loosely because I think we need to be careful with doing outrageous things and influencing our students. It's okay to do like backflips and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think entertainment with some sort of boundaries. And you're going to be doing that, I hope. Maybe we'll get partnered together.
But I like it. Who's going to judge though?
I'm not sure. That's Alex's domain. Alex is the boss of the Jack and Jill part of Rumbia, so you can ask him.
I think it's great. Yeah. What styles will it be? Salsa and bachata, or cha-cha, or what?
Just salsa and bachata, I think. But having had our conversation today, I think next year let's make that a thing. It's like, what did you call it? It's the all-rounder or the over? What do you call it?
What they call it at the summit? It's tri-style champion or something like that. That sounds very Harry Potter. Tri-wizard tournament.
Tri-wizard tournament.
Yeah. but it's salsa, bachata, and cha-cha, and you have to compete in all three styles and do well in all three styles to be the winner of that division. So they have them separate, pro bachata and pro salsa, but then you have to combine the three together to be.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I
think it's amazing.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, totally down for that. Bonjour, mon amour. I think the more diversity we have, like in our dances, just makes us better dancers. So if you can dance, like I think for me at least, like my focus is so in salsa and cha-cha and everything, all the styles associated with that. Like I can do a little bit of bachata and a little bit of zouk, and like at one stage Alex was teaching me a little bit of tango, and it's so nice to have other styles, but it just complements you as a person and as a dancer. So the more diversity we have, I think the better.
Yeah, I found a real new love, I guess, for tango, because I think it feeds that technical monster in me. It's like, it's so technical, tango. So Carlos has taught me a little bit. And of course we did our routine Copa last year, which has the tango element to it. And it was a really nice challenge. And I'm like, let's do more of that. I think we're going to give our students a little treat of that every now and then with some workshops too. So it's such a beautiful style. Yeah.
Have you done it? Like, have you gone out and done tango?
No, I haven't. I'm not at that level. I need some more skills first before. But I would love to at least go and see some social. And I think there's quite a lot in Melbourne. There's a big tango scene here. So
really,
I know we have some very high level tango dancers here too. I think her name is Marseille, and she's competed at some of the world championships in tango, and she's teaching here. So on my to-do list of, when we need more inspiration, or always need it, go and do something different like that. Yeah.
100%. When I was talking about Alex said, how many people in the professional division at a salsa competition for salsa? Oh, I don't know, like maybe 20 or something like that. And he's like, tango has thousands of people enter the same division. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge entity. And I'm so ignorant to it because it's not in our circle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I've only sort of had my eyes open to it since working with Carlos, and it's, it's such a huge part of their culture over there. And we watch a lot of YouTube of their competitions that they have, and it's incredible to watch, like incredible. And I think that it's like you're treated like royalty if you win. And I believe if you win, you're actually not allowed to then compete again. It's kind of like your ultimate. You're like the king of the kings.
I think they make you a judge.
Probably, yeah. Probably.
Yeah, they have like a really diverse judging panel. They have a very like all the people competing are from all over the world. Like a lot of countries represent. It's really well done. I think. I don't know how long they've been doing it for, but it seems to run.
We live in this little bubble of thinking we're in this massive world of dance. And in reality, it's just like a little speck of the spectrum of what dance is. But, I think if we keep taking influence from that and dipping our toes in that circle, as you said before, so it's nice seeing the styles, and even in salsa, seeing stuff sort of switch over. And I think it's Rodrigo Cortázar speaks a lot about the influences from, different styles coming into salsa, which is really exciting and important to acknowledge, I think.
I did a workshop with him in Italy, and he was talking about the influence of jazz and the influence of swing and the influence of rock that all shaped mambo. Yeah, like through the. That's like astonishing. He's like an encyclopedia of salsa knowledge. I'm supposed to interview him. I spoke to him at the workshop, and I was like, "Hey, I'd love to chat with you." And he's like, "Yeah, man, sure, no worries." So I should. Because he's like a wealth of knowledge. I
think you should do that, and it would be a hilarious interview because he is such a character. That guy, he's very, very funny.
When I did this workshop with him, because his style, like you're familiar with his style. He's so light, so gentle with his frame. He's in a way he's like the opposite of Sousa style, which is a strong, like almost competition style. In my opinion, it's very strong frame, and I don't want to say rough, but it's powerful. It's a really powerful style. And when Rodrigo taught a workshop at Sosa Academy, Rodrigo style, with his light hands and like spiderweb light movements. The Sosa students were like, "Oh, this is really different. Like, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And it was concept for them. Like, I was fortunate because I've done workshops with him before, but he's a really charismatic and very energetic, and like he had like all of them laughing. Like he's a really cool guy. I have a lot of time for him.
I think
learn from him.
yeah, to work with him some more. And I agree with you. And that's someone I'd like to work with in terms. He's lightning fast, and I always admired him and Bercy, because Bercy's quite tall with long arms, like me. She's one of the few women that kind of has a taller frame like me. And I'm just like, how do they move that fast? It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you could learn like another style, obviously because you're busy, right? You're running your own school, like you've got your own stuff going on. But if there was a style that you would love to dabble in that you haven't, what would you do?
Ooh, I think, well, yeah, coming into, I mean, I've learned like 3 steps in tango, but I think I would love to, now I know more about it, I think I would really like to do more in that style. Anything else, like, genres like the commercial or hip hop, I'm just so foreign to, like, and that scares the crap out of me doing something like that, which is maybe why I should do it more. Go and push myself outside of a comfort zone. Trying to think if there's anything else. I went to Brazuki was it last year? Whenever it was here last in Melbourne, and not that I want to do Zouk, but I admire. Well, maybe I like, because I think, like you were saying, it can cross over, and it was just beautiful to watch some of those couples dancing Zouk, that were here. I don't know their names. It's Merrick, Melissa. I can't remember their name. A young couple from Brazil. Just incredible to watch. It was mesmerizing watching them social dance together. They just had this incredible connection. And I think maybe that's what it is. It's those 2 styles I've pointed out. I mean, like any style, but that partner style, I think it's one thing to dance by yourself, but learning a style where it's so much about the connection that you have with the partner. Like tango is so much about the connection. As you would have seen a little bit with your training with Alex, and then Zouk as well. It's just incredible to watch. I mean, Kadu and Larissa are the other good example. Like those guys, they've been working together 15 or 16 years now, and that's extraordinary.
I think when they first came to Australia, they came here, this studio, Rio Rhythmics.
Really?
That's where they started.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I think they brought them over, and he gave them the platform to launch off to become artists in Australia, I think. Yeah. I was looking at the there's like a mural on the wall just here. This is the oldest studio in Queensland. This studio was founded in 1989.
Wow, that's incredible. And there's so many teachers that have been through that place.
Yeah, heaps have been through here. But that was the year I was born. This studio was founded the year I was born, and now I teach here.
That's really cool. I think congratulations to them. That's amazing. Like it's there's no mean feat running a studio, and so it's admirable. But they've been doing that for so long. It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. So cool. He's on my list of people to talk to because his contribution to the scene in Queensland has been phenomenal. So many teachers come through the school, and there are so many people that have learnt to dance here. I worked with a guy in the emergency trauma theatre at the big public hospital here, and he's like, "Oh, you're that salsa dancer," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, hi, nice to meet you." Like, I dance salsa too. Like, I dance at Rio, and I was like, "Oh man, it's such a small world." A lot of people up here have been through this school.
That's
really
such a nice
interesting
thing to have, a community of, a place for the community up there. Like they would have seen so many students through their doors too that have got to experience dance dance. And that Rio's offers so many different styles too, I believe.
Yeah, I can look at the timetable now. It's right next to me. Linear Salsa, which is with me on Tuesdays, and Claire. Samba de Gaffiera, Bolero, Samba no Pe, Bachata, Brazilian Zouk, Tango, Cuban Salsa. That's all in the same week. Yeah,
It's amazing.
they offer a lot.
It's amazing. Yeah. One
So
day
we're getting.
No.
I have a change with Ju and Huffer, the Zouk teachers here, and so I teach salsa and they teach me Zouk, which has been really nice because it's allowed me to step into that world a little bit. But it's so interesting how different it is to salsa. So I'm saying to them, oh, like you have to do it like this because it's linear. And you have to make it like that way because there's a structure and like there's like rules. There's rules to like what we're doing. And then I ask them questions about Zouk, and I'm like, oh, can I do this? And they're like, yeah. We don't recommend, but you can do it. We don't like to say you can't do anything. You can do whatever you want. Like they don't to restrict anything that you're doing. They're like anything that you can invent. If they can make it work, they no worries. Even if it's like not traditional or like classic Zouk, they're like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, no worries. Like it's so
think that's
free.
super interesting. Yeah, I like the fact that we have structure, and I think it's important. But sometimes I think, and I'm speaking from personal experience, I think that structure or that way of doing things really can get in the way sometimes of your creativity. So I think it's nice to have a balance, even within salsa. Of course, you need to stick to your foundations and your fundamental steps. But it's like, how can we make that a little bit different? I think it's the same thing I do in musicality. It's like my musicality class, I kind of say, don't worry about the technique, don't worry about the timing, don't worry. I just sort of let them clear their mind, because sometimes I think when they're like, I have to do this step on this, they become very limited with their imagination. So I think it's nice sometimes to clear the slate and be like, let's see what happens and experiment a little bit and go with the music. So I admire that the Zouk guys are sort of saying, you can make it work. I think we could do the same in salsa. Like, how could we make it work within this structure? Maybe, I don't know.
It's become interesting to try and move in that direction, and I think it moves in that direction a lot in Europe. Like I was dancing with people and seeing people dance, and the way they lead things, and the way there's people operating on like another level. There's a really cool dancer from Czech Republic in Prague, Marian, and this guy got such cool moves, like things that you would never think of doing. Like, and I picked his brain like at a social one weekend, and I was like, bro, like you have to show me he's doing like the most obscure things, but like he really makes it work. It's really impressive. It's really impressive to watch. I would love to do more stuff like that. So I think it's happening for some.
You have to wonder about their kind of way of doing things. Like they must have a obsession with social dancing, you know? I think that's the way that they have, like, there's certain people that love performance, but there's other people that just obsessed with social or like moves or whatever it is. So I think that's
cool. A person who's done a lot in that direction is Super Mario. Like Super Mario's like, I feel like he's really up to date, or he's stayed relevant, even though he's been doing it for so long. And he creates, in my opinion, he creates the best social dancers in the world. His structure for teaching social dancing, taking someone from a beginner who's never done basic steps before to an advanced level dancer on two, I think he's the best at it. Like when I was at last year, like it's really impressive.
Yeah, no, he's great, and he's a lovely guy too, which is so nice to see someone in the industry been there since day one and still going really well, which is awesome.
It's really nice to be a part of it too. So when I went, I've been to his school a couple of times before last year, but the guy that I traveled with last year, my friend Riley, he'd never been before, and like I feel like Mario's got like a bit of he likes to humble people sometimes. He likes to,
Oh, yeah.
he likes to, to bring him down a peg. And it was probably like a normal class for them, but for Riley, it was so overwhelming. Because he'll dictate, demonstrate, he'll just say, crossbody turn, double turn for the follower, double turn for the leader, double inline turn, or something like that. And they can just do it like robots, like military style, like everything timing wise is perfect. All their turns are on point. And like, if it's your first time experiencing that, you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, they're speaking another language. It's really nice. You adapt really quickly to it. I think it's good. Yeah.
I think that's like people coming into our Shines classes. Sometimes they come in and we're yelling out Shines moves that a lot of our students have heard for a long time. And other people come in like, what is happening? What is this craziness that's going on? So, yeah.
Do you feel like you have like a syllabus at a fundamental level that all operate with the same names and the same, like, is identified the same way?
So do we? Is that what you said?
And do you feel like we have? I feel like Zouk have it.
Yeah.
Zouk have like their fundamental moves are all called the same thing. But in salsa, you have like inline cross, aggressive left turn, like simple, like all these different names for the same thing. It just depends on which school you go to. Like,
look, I think that would be. I don't know how it would ever happen, but I think it would be helpful. However, when we're teaching we've tried to align our syllabus based on some of the people like Adolfo Indocachea and people that I admire and respect, to sort of try to use terminology that he would use and that I've heard of, not just him, of course, but a lot of other people that use similar things. Try to sort of align it based upon those people that I respect. But having said that, when we teach, sometimes we will mention, sometimes it can be called this I try to say why we call it things as well. Like I try to, when we name things or we have chosen to go with certain ways of calling things, we sort of choose, get my words out now, sorry. Things that make sense. So it's like why we choose to call it this, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's like instead of saying inside turn, I'm like, is it an inside turn when you're turning on the other side of the leader's body? Suddenly it's not an inside turn, it's an outside turn for the follow. So it's like choosing language that makes sense.
It's one of my biggest, I think I can call it that, a pet peeve, because I feel like the names of salsa moves are named after what the follower's doing, because the follower's footwork. So if a leader is on the left side of the follower and they do an inline turn, if they go onto the other side of the follower's line, it's still an inline turn. It's not an outside or inside, dependent on where the leader is. It should be the follower's what the move is. That's the only thing that's consistent. Yeah.
I'm not sure how we would ever get to that point. It is when I explain salsa to other people that have come from other. Or for example, I was talking to someone that does jiu-jitsu the other day. It's like, how do you score moves and like base things? Like they just seem to have such a clear sort of identifier of this gets you these points. And I'm like, ours is a lot more, subjective in a sense.
Yeah,
subjective. Sorry. I'm not going to get into that whole discussion.
That's okay. So. Have an event coming up in March. So what date is Rumbia?
Rumbia is the 10th to the 12th of March. So we're only, I think, 5 weeks out now.
Yeah, we're really close.
Really excited. So it's the first one that because of course we are all geared up, ready to go in 2020. Some of the artists had already come in. So Richie Almendra and Carlos were already in the country, and then the borders shut. So this year's event, last year was amazing, but again we were limited with internationals that we could bring due to the borders only having just opened, and a lot of the artists had already been booked. So we're super excited to really have some amazing talent coming this year from overseas. So we've got Diego and Joanna coming from Colombia and Peru. And then we've got Stephanie and Jeremy, who are based in Spain, but they're from Colombia, coming. They've just been on America's Got Talent. I don't know if you've seen them on Instagram, but I'll call them Instagram sensations. They're just crazy. Exciting to watch. And Alonso and Noelia from Spain as well for the bachata side. Just amazing, all of them. And what I like is they're all new. They've never been to Australia. They're all kind of more up and coming, I guess you would say. I mean, Joanna's been around a while. Diago's very new on the scene, but he's just really burst into the scene in the last sort of 12 months. So I'm excited to have new young talent coming here in March. It's going to be amazing.
I think it's really underappreciated how much effort goes to bringing artists to Australia, because it's expensive with the flights, the visas, and then like you're putting them up for the whole time they're there, and it's like you're bringing the talent to the people here as opposed to traveling talent yourself. Exactly. And it's so appreciated, I think, in our scene. And so I think the scene owes organisers, and you and Alex included, like a debt of gratitude, because like they're not going to bring them, you can't bring them much closer than you are. Like you're literally bringing them to their city or to their
exactly.
So
I think why not? The opportunity, it's just amazing. So it's like if you're not sort of supporting that kind of talent coming to your home city or to your country, it's like, we're saving you that trip overseas to go and try and find them. So that's the thing. We are so far away, and the vision with Rumbia is we really become a destination congress. Like a lot of Australians travel to somewhere like Croatia or Berlin. We would really love Melbourne to become that city for Rumbia Festival, and you have amazing artists, but amazing culture of dance here too. So that's the long-term vision. And just make it a super festival here. We might not have the beach. We do have the beach far away, but we don't have the beach in the sun of Croatia. But we have Melbourne and amazing coffee, and it's just, it's a great city.
I'm glad you mentioned the timetable. You have a Melbourne coffee break. So can you talk about that? What's that?
Well, we just want to really rub it in everyone else's faces that we make the best coffee here. So I thought we'd just amplify that by putting it on the timetable. And I think we'll be handing out recommendations of the best cafes in the area in Chapel. It's on the iconic Chapel Street, so there's plenty of great cafe culture right where we are. So it was necessary. The reason we put those breaks in is you're sort of always scrambling to finish a workshop and get the demo video, and then by the time people clear out, go to the next workshop room, there's time kind of wasted there. So we're trying to put in little interval breaks where you might grab a sneaky coffee and then head to your next workshop. So that's the plan.
I have a friend from Melbourne, Maxi, and I thought I was a snob until I spoke with her. And Maxi said, "Oh, what do you drink?" And I said, "Oh, I drink an oat flat white." I said, "What do you drink?" I have a double ristretto in a 3/4 cup on whatever milk she has. And I was like, what? Talking about?
That's like Alex. Alex is the same. He has something with like a little bit of cream on the side or something like that. I'm just a casual soy flat white, so I'm pretty easy to please.
Yeah.
But it has to be
it's not until you go to other countries around the world and then you realize how bad their coffee is, and you're like, God, I miss Australian coffee. That's probably what brings me back. My students in Queensland and the coffee. And so that's what I miss.
Well, it's funny, even Carlos, who didn't drink a lot of coffee when he first came to Australia, who would drink instant and be okay with that. And I would always judge him. So I eventually transitioned him onto soy flat white. And the last time he went back to Argentina, he was like, Ellie, I really miss soy flat whites. That was the first thing he was excited. So I've ruined his life now as well.
But it's like sides of the same coin, hey? So you love it when you're here, but then when you leave, it's like, God, I miss it so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Nowhere it's not the same. Closer the closest I got to Australian coffee was Greece.
Oh yeah.
Consistently good, like amazing.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good here. So come to Rumbia for the coffee.
Come to Rumbia.
Nothing else.
Well, it's so nice chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome. It was lovely chatting with you.
Yeah, I'll post this on Instagram, so that if you missed part of the chat, or if you didn't get to see it, you can still have access to it. Go on to Elysia Rumbia to check out her festival, which is happening in 5 weeks. So if you're in Australia or probably New Zealand, it's probably you still have time to get tickets. So yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be my first festival for the year, so I'm looking forward to coming down with everyone, and yeah, we'll see you.
It's going to be great. We'll see you guys there. All right. Well, it's lovely to see you, and I hope you have a nice Tuesday. And I'll
Thank
see you.
Great classes tonight. Okay.
I will. Thanks. See ya. Bye.